The Socio-Academic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to step up presidential panel of inquiry to promptly probe the grim allegations that over $15 billion of oil revenue and 200 billion naira budgeted to repair the refineries are missing and are accounted for between 2020 and 2021 as documented by the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NITI. SERAP urged him to name and shame anyone suspected to be responsible for the missing and unaccounted public funds and to ensure their effective prosecution as well as the full recovery of any proceeds of crime. In the letter dated 23rd of September 2023 and signed by SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare, the organization said there is a legitimate public interest in ensuring justice and accountability for these serious allegations, and taking these important measures would end the impunity of perpetrators. SERAP said, as President and Minister of the Petroleum Resources, your office ought to be concerned about the damning revelation by getting to the bottom of the allegation and ensuring that suspected perpetrators are promptly brought to justice and any missing public funds fully recovered. SERAP also gave Mr. President 7 days to act, and failure to do so will compel SERAP to consider appropriate legal action to compel the Tinubu administration to do so. This is coming at a time when public trust is low and at a time when Nigerians are going through one of the most difficult times on account of subsidy removal and the growing call for our refineries to work and help bring down the cost of refined petroleum products. But the big question or the big story for today is, will such a call be heeded to? And will it not go the way of others? And will the country ever get it right in bringing such looters to book? Well, this and more as it concerns corruption in the oil sector is what this edition of The Big Story is all about. And that is corruption in the oil sector and a call for prompt probe. And that's what we're talking about, oil sector, deep-rooted corruption embedded in it. And that's what we're having as a major discourse today on The Big Story. We're talking with that very call by SERAP just during the weekend, stating that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should do more as it concerns that revelation from NITI that about 15 billion United States dollars was unaccounted for over oil revenue, and also 200 billion naira rather, that was needed to repair or revitalize our refineries are missing. Well, anyway, it's not missing, but rather with us here to talk about it, and we're talking of no other person but Ambassador Ke Idawene. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir.
You always meet my doctor.
Okay, sorry, do forgive me, doctor.
So, okay, Idawene.
But anyway, I enjoyed your ambassador.
No problem. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, viewers. Good morning to the world. You practically begged me to be here this morning. I told you I wasn't coming. The reason is that I'm angrier than ever before. And when you say the most difficult times in the history of Nigeria, no, one of the most, no. This is the worst situation we have had since I was born.
But anyway, on account of that, I do understand the anger that seems to be, especially as that very revelation was made known by NITI. And no surprise, SERAP is pushing for such. But anyway, let's continue with it. Now, the findings by NITI of over 15 billion United States dollars and 200 billion naira of oil revenue and monies budgeted for repair of refineries between 2020 and 2022 was stolen suggests a grave violation of public trust and the provisions of the Nigerian Constitution 99 as amended, and the National Anti-Corruption Law, and the country's obligation under United Nations Convention Against Corruption. But my first question is, knowing that the Minister of Petroleum during that time that these monies were said to be missing is no other but former President Muhammadu Buhari. And do you see President Tinubu taking on that call by SERAP, or is it going to go the way of others and will just fall on deaf ears?
Michael Gobadia.
Well, forgive me, I have to ask the questions.
See, Nigerians, President Muhammadu Buhari, a man who ordered a sitting CBN governor to release 500 billion naira to a particular ministry every month. Have you forgotten? Here we are again on misappropriation of money, eating money, diverted money. Which language you want to coin it? The issue at hand, President Buhari, on a normal circumstance, should be called now to tell us what happened.
So there were green calls before, but now he should
be called now on a normal circumstance. The former president, immediate past, I don't know the former is immediate past president should be called back. PMB, what happened to this money and others? But you and I are Nigerians. What will can President Tinubu have the political will, the clout, the tenacity, the impetus to call on PMB to appear before a panel? South Africa did it, other countries did it. Some went to jail, some were brought back, and issues like that. You see, until these things are done this way, what do we tell the incoming generation? Because we study these things as they are online forever. A child goes into another goes into a study and sees what his president pastors have done. On what moral ground will you now say they should do the thing the other way around? How long should we continue? In a time that people are dying of hunger, in a time that the country is at comatose worse than ever, in a time that the dollar is more than 1,000 naira, in a time that we are consumption economy, in a situation whereby we say import fuel for our people, in a country where they are allowing the poor of the poor to die every day. Go to the streets. I talked with a very senior citizen a few days ago, and he's a Tinubu fan, and I was talking to him on this situation. He ended up telling me that talk is cheap. Emiloko, I have come again. Will he be able to do that? To me, to us, President Buhari should be called to account for this money for the first time in the history of Nigeria. Let us do something. If not, I want to say here, in a sane society, the party APC, I'm not here to campaign for party, cannot be even mentioned in any campaign ground when things like this are happening.
But do you see him making that call and calling him to book?
I don't see him doing it practically, because under pragmatic experience over the years, none has done it. But though it's not as bad as this, but this is alarming. This is unimaginable. This is unheard of and unthinkable. At the end of the day, remember, let me refresh. When we had power contracts and even lands to clear the allocated lands were not to clear the allocated lands were not even done, and billions of dollars went away. Let me assume that naturally at that point we're not as hungry as we are. We are not lacking crude oil production even
as we are.
We are producing, but what is happening? They are stealing, diverting our crude. Meanwhile, that's on top of that day, but it's part of where we are here today. So these are so I don't see President Tinubu coming to address this issue. Rather, he's pursuing cosmetic measures, frivolities to do leadership. Okay, now that is why I told you I was not coming again this morning.
Well, anyways, let's look at the report, because many will not understand the anger
it's alarming.
You seem to be expressing. And it's only right to look at the report, as I try to also give you, or rather ask you, the second question. Now, according to the 2021 report by the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NITI, government agencies, including the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company under the NNPC, and the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, MPDC, failed to remit $13.591 million and $8.251 billion to the public treasury. The report also showed that NNPC Group also spent $6.931 billion on on behalf of the federal government, but without appropriation by the National Assembly. The report also showed that 9.73 billion naira was paid to NNPC and pipeline transportation revenue from the joint venture operations, but the money was neither remitted to the federal government nor properly accounted for. It also showed that the NPDC in 2021 also failed to remit $7.61 million realized from the sales of crude, and still on that report, it showed that over 200 billion naira was spent on refineries rehabilitation between 2020 and 2021, but none of the refineries were operating in 2021 despite the spendings. But my next question is now, how was all of this even going on without any red flag being raised? Because that's where the question lies now. And the reason I'm asking this, because we do know that we have persons that are saddled with the responsibility of oversight. And funny enough, why I'm asking this question is, between that period of 2020 and 2021, we went to borrow 6.64 trillion because we had no revenue. So my question is, why were we not able to notice this? Well, we have oversight, we have the National Assembly, we have other agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of raising that red flag.
Let me say here, what you call $6 billion, $300 million, 20 billion, I follow me?
Yes.
I want to say that we have lost over 20 trillion naira from the money you have mentioned so far. So that our people will understand, let's talk about naira now.
Okay.
And we borrowed 6-something trillion naira that period for inadequate funding,
lack of having enough funding
budgeting for the year. Now, you see, at times I ask myself, on Sunday, we'll be 63 years old. 63 years old. And by every calculation, a man that is 60 and above is already entering the elderly side of life. So Nigeria is now cropping into the elderly side of nations in the world or in Africa. Why is it that we don't, this leadership thing, is it that we are cursed? Are you following me? Because the question you ask me now is that from the executive to the judiciary to the legislature, what you see here is well calculated, organized, synchronized synergy to undo Okeidawen and Mike Gobadia. For our generation, our unborn generation, our incoming generation, to just suffer what they know nothing about. Because no red flag was raised. How can you raise red flag when you are part of the system? That's why I told you that President Tinubu has no moral local standing to question PMB.
On account of being the same
party. On account of being
the same party.
Apart from the same party, we have the antecedents now.
Anyway, those are mere allegations.
Not mere allegations. There are some things I don't want to say here that you know that the current president has been involved before now. What about the recent report saga from America?
Anyway, that has
been appealed now. So I'm just telling you, a man who has bullion vans, a man who the system will try to undo before the elections. Have you forgotten that the wife came and said that they are richer than the entire country? You don't need Nigeria's money. That's the man we're talking about here. So where will he have the moral, the local? Let's forget about the past now. Okay, let's forget about the present. You can imagine over 20 trillion naira got missing. Nobody. When I read the report,
that still brings me back. When I read the report, about that this money will just go without people noticing that it left or it did not come. Because NITI, Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative went into the archives, went into the books, went there and got all of these out. So it still brings me back. Well, how can they be taking these and nobody knows? Nobody can raise that red flag. Nobody indicts them around that time. All of this only comes out way off when all of this money.
Now you ask yourself again. You are in Quest family here. Something is going wrong that you're benefiting from. Will you raise a flag, a red flag? Naturally. The answer is no. The answer is capital no. So, if you see, can you just, I am close to these VIP guys in the country. If you see the kind of lifestyle these guys live, you ask yourself, how are they assessing such funds? These are the returns. These are how they get their money. The money is there. They see it go. They write papers to retire the money. Are you following me? But at the end, when you go to re-auditing, book checking, you discover that, okay, if you write that you have refurbished or revamped do turnaround maintenance or refineries with 200 billion naira, you sign. You have inspected, you sign. If they call to probe, heads will roll. You will be shocked at the reports that you will get.
Do you also feel that we Nigerians should be held accountable for such? The reason
you're not far from it. I was going there.
Is that we know such money were budgeted for such, and a timeline was given for such. Nobody followed up. At the end, we keep coming to scream. That is
why. In Enugu, about 3-4 months ago, immediately after the elections, I was in Enugu and I was crying when I saw the way Enugu has been bastardized, that the former governor needs to be called to book. Now, I'm just giving you that. And that program, I anchored a program and I challenged SERAP and I challenged these socio-economic crime watchers. And I told them that they are mere dogs that bark without biting. In the sense that you discover that things will go sour, go irredeemable. Once you have a liquid milk and it pours on the sand, you can't get it back. Once a raw egg is broken, are you following me? And crack on the wall, what are you going to do with that egg? Now, where do you want to trace this from? So the issue is, they only bark, but they don't bite. Now, you and I should be held responsible, all Nigerians, because we don't follow up things. We don't even read. And when we read, we don't practice what we have read. We just read for literature purpose and we dump it there. Lucky Dube said, if you like, speak on the grammar, speak on the enduring appetite. Nothing will happen to the people. Sign the books. Open the cupboard, lock the cupboard. Until you and I change our hearts, change our mindset, nothing will happen in the country. So that's what I make you understand. The issue here is that the moment things we are talking here now, once we live here, people listening to us now have to reach out to make sure that we go and protest, peaceful protest, that this money must be accounted for. Rather, we are going on air, spending resources for. Let me not say what I want to say. Let me not say what to say. If I say it now, some people on the street will start calling me that I am mocking somebody that is dead already. But the power we use in some things, let's channel that energy into positive that will impact on the society. Because for posterity's sake, how can you be quiet in a country where over 20 million is missed and you are there gallivanting, going to United Nations Assembly?
That brings me to my next question. You just raised it up, and I want us to continue there. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, since assumption of office, have been busy. He has not failed in showing us that he is interested in bringing foreign direct inflow into the country. And in his 100 days in office, he has traveled about 30 days out of this country on account of that to woo foreign investors into the country. And if you look at the investment side, he's basically in the energy sector. That's what he's looking at investment. But my next question now is, with such a report now in public space, because often I learned that the UK reacted to this very report only on Sunday, which was yesterday. They saw this report and they've called also for the federal government to do something about it. But my question is, how much of this would it affect his investors' willingness to come? Because why I ask this, remember, I will not want to call the company. A foreign company, oil company is already being investigated. Yeah. Funny enough, it's even being prosecuted in overseas on account of corruption in Nigerian oil sector. Show the deals that were done in Nigeria and in Nigeria. So how much of but so that brings me, is this not also going to affect that recent call for foreign direct inflow to come in the energy sector?
See, bro Mike, you cannot. Oh gosh.
I plead with you, doctor. Okay, down there, please calm down. I need you to just answer that. Please, let's take. I know how bitter you are.
I'm coming down. I'm trying to see. How can you travel to woo foreign direct investment (FDI) into Nigeria? It's an insult. They gave us another $700 million loan or a grant. What have you?
On Friday rather.
Only Delta State is even richer than that money you are mentioning. On a normal circumstance, the insult is too much. They are giving us stipends of our enormous resources to support us. That's by the way. Now, when you hear that there is as an eligible bachelor, when you hear that there is a well-behaved, well-mannered, beautiful, in and out, peaceful, loving spinster, young damsel somewhere, as an eligible bachelor, you will travel miles. You will cross the seas, cross the desert. I need that woman to better my life. So, once Nigeria now is a beautiful bride, supposedly beautiful bride, we don't need the president to travel to go and woo investors to Nigeria. We are not just founded yesterday. We've been in living. We've been Africa's giant until we threw it away. I don't believe in that anymore. Until we threw it away in terms of no confidence in the system, in terms of accountability, in terms of leadership quality, in terms of economic viability, in terms of the naira value. We have thrown Africa's giant away. If you like, get angry this morning. But the truth be said, and let us know that we're no longer Africa's giant, but we pray to return back to our place of pride in the Committee of Nations. Now, having said so, why would the president use our funds, use scarce resources, use identify with a lot of people for such movement?
So you're against
all you need to do, you said a miracle. Meaning you're supposed to have understood nitty-gritty when it concerns leadership in Nigeria. But you're coming in, you came in as a neophyte now, as now learning the job.
Okay, I'll plead with you to hold on. We need
I condemn the travels. We can do our things here. People will come and invest in Nigeria.
That's what you believe in. But we need to go on the break. That's what I know. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion centered on corruption in the oil sector, knowing that Mr. President is the Minister of Petroleum Resources, and not just only that, his predecessor that Serap is talking about also was Minister of Petroleum under his watch. Let's go on a break and we'll come back and have more talk.